But some of that moisture has come at a fast rate and in large amounts, causing flooding and ponding in some fields. UNL Extension Nutrient Management Specialist Charlie Wortmann joined us Thursday to discuss some of the soil issues that could cause.
Well, the big concern is the loss of nitrogen with the rain. And there are two loss processes we need to be concerned about. Leaching of nitrates is probably going to cause us the greatest loss, and this is especially important on sandier soils. So you get the combination of these heavy rains with the water going in. If it runs off, then it's not so much of a problem, but if it percolates in, infiltrates and percolates through the soil, then we lose nitrates. The other is where water stands for some time, and we get denitrification, which something that occurs with waterlogged soils. And so this would be occurring in depression type of areas or poor surface drainage, but also soils where the water does not pass through very quickly. And how much losses is going to depend on the situation. Some guidelines for the denitrification is somewhere between 2 and 4% of the nitrate N per day. Probably like 2.5%. So if you have about 100 pounds of nitrate N out there, you might be losing 2.5 pounds per day. With leaching, again, so much depends on the situation. Yeah. But you have to look at your crop canopy, how much yellowing you have out there, and then decide. If it's relatively yellow, you might put on maybe 50 pounds side dress application or through fertigation.
Should you look only for those cues, or would you recommend soil sampling outright?
At this point, we don't have good interpretation of soil test results. We have something called the pre-side dress nitrate test. This is intended for earlier use. Now, if they've replanted or planted late for some reason and the corn is still at the 4 to 6 leaf stage, then the pre-side dress nitrate test could be used. And there you're looking at how much nitrate you have in the top 12 inches and then making decisions on that.
You have a tool through UNL Extension that will come out later on this year that might help producers determine the amount of nitrogen they could lose. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, the tool that we've developed, and it's in the final stages, and we've had support from 3 NRDs to do this, it's to make pre-season decisions. That is, before you put your fertilizer on, you want to make some decisions. And we know that our fields are very variable for the potential of nitrogen loss. Some have high potential for leaching loss, and others have high potential for denitrification loss, and some practices much volatilization loss. This tool allows us to look at individual field conditions and management practices and estimate how much loss is likely to occur with those scenarios. And then we can easily test the effect of alternative practices. So our intention is that this winter we do have extension programming around the state to introduce the tool to people. It's very easy to use. It's got a lot of complex calculations there that you don't have to look at, but the input data is quite easy to come up with. The results are easy to interpret. So we think it should be a valuable tool.
We've had a report or two from UNL Extension personnel around the state about iron chlorosis in soybeans. Can you first explain what that is and then maybe talk about some management options that farmers might have?
On some of our high pH soils, we, especially if they're calcareous, that there's free lime in the soil, we do get this problem of iron chlorosis where the plant doesn't have enough iron for normal metabolism, and we get it expressed in the upper leaves of the crop. Soybean is more affected than corn, but corn also is affected. It tends to be worse when we have wet conditions. So if you have fields that are prone to this iron chlorosis and you've had these heavy rains recently, the problem might be worse than usual.
Is there any in-season management option?
The only in-season management option, and we're not too happy with it, but is to do foliar application of iron. And that can be as iron sulfate in solution, or it can be a chelated iron. and they should work about equally effective. One is more expensive than the other, but iron sulfate, the less expensive option, should work as well. A problem is that generally when we have this problem, our crop is small. We don't have much leaf area to collect, to catch this foliar application. And we can only put on small amounts, and to really treat it right, it would probably have to take 2 or 3 applications. At the same time, conditions are changing in the field where maybe the crop itself will, it'll change so that the crop can get enough iron. So it's sort of a hit and miss type of practice, but in some years it can pay off for you.
For more information on corn disease after hail and soybean seedling diseases after recent storms, you can view our interviews with Tamara Jackson-Sims and Lauren Giesler from last week's episode.